I've really just tried saying hello about 10 different times. I didn't like any of the times, so this is going to be the intro. Hey, hi, how are you? I hope you're having a great day, a splendid day, a grand old time. I'm Keely, and today we're going to be tier ranking all of the books I read throughout school. So this is going to be all the books I read throughout high school, all the books I read throughout college. Hopefully it's all of them. Honestly, maybe I probably forgot some, but I really tried to remember. I'm not going to be really telling you anything about these books. I'm just going to be ranking them. There's too many of them to really go through in depth. Also, I think a lot of them people have heard of, so these are just my rankings. So of course we're going to be using the tier ranking website, which is really exciting because I really love the tier ranking videos. Yeah, I have quite a few books here to talk about. Hopefully it won't be as long as the last video, but we'll see. Maybe it'll just continuously get longer. No, don't say that. I can't even, I'm not putting that out into the universe, no thank you. Okay. So the first tier, the bottom tier that we're going to have here is here for the Goodreads challenge. Look, these are textbooks. I only put them on Goodreads probably because I needed a little bit of a Goodreads boost. Let's be honest, there was a little slow that year. I wanted to still make my Goodreads challenge, even though I could have just lowered it. And even then, I went over, I think, every year by at least one or two books, so didn't need to do that, but they're on there, and I added a few of those. The next tier we have is, I didn't read this, so look, sorry Mom and Dad, but I did not read every book that I was assigned in school. SparkNotes was right there. And what a wonderful website that is. So I can't really critique these books at all or talk about them, have any opinions on them because, I didn't read them. I'm sure they're great. I don't know, we'll get there. The next tier I have is Get It Out of the Curriculum. Look, these books are just ones I don't see any value in having in the curriculum. Some of them are problematic. And some of them I just didn't get anything out of. I don't see why we have to read them. There's so many other books that we could have. There's so many good books that are more contemporary right now that I would love to see in school curriculums, and I wish I could have been reading those. The next one is, I get why I needed to read it. Doesn't mean I had a great time reading it. I don't know, these books are just kind of in the middle. I get it. I don't love them, but I understand why I need to read them. And then the top tier we have is I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to. So these are some top tier books. Top tier for tier ranking. Wow, good, okay. So these are some books that I would either reread now or I would want to pick up regardless if they were assigned to me. So I'm going to be looking down the whole time because I'm doing this on my laptop, and hopefully now I've got my screen up, hopefully. Let's see if I figured out how to do this. You know if I figured out how to do this. I don't know. The first few videos are just going to be me figuring out what I can do in editing. It's going to be a little awkward if I couldn't do it. Anyway, so I'm going to be looking down for the video because I'm obviously tracking these pictures around and tier ranking these books. But the first book we have is 1984 by George Orwell. I know, I'm going between I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to, and I get why I need to read it. Because I definitely get why I needed to read this book. I think it's a very influential book. All of these are influential books, Keely. It was a good book. I just really hated the rats. And if you read it, you know what I'm talking about, but I really hated the rats. So I think because of that, maybe. Alright, no, I'm going to put in I read it even if I wasn't forced to for right now, because there's other George Orwell books I want to read, and those could have been assigned to me. I don't know, my logic is I want to read Animal Farm, even though it's not being assigned to me, and because since I want to read Animal Farm, I should put 1984 up there. I don't know if that's flawed, but it's going up there. We'll see how it goes. But the rats, I hated that. No thank you. The next one is the first one for here for the Goodreads challenge. So this is 428 AD, an ordinary year at the end of the Roman Empire. I read this for, I think, a Western civilization course, history class that I took in college. It's there for the Goodreads challenge. That's all I gotta say. Okay, the next one is A Separate Piece. I hated this when I read it. This is, I think, the first book that I remember hating. Oh, I hated it. I had to read it the summer before freshman year of high school. And I just detested every second of it. And really, when I think back to it, I think I hated it because there were no female characters. I just didn't get anything out of this. I hated it. All I remember is some guy breaks his leg. Sorry if that's a spoiler. I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, maybe I thought about giving this one a chance again, or like reading it again, but I don't think I want to. I just did not enjoy that at all. So get it out of the curriculum. And I'm just going to skip down to another one while we're here because it's very similar. Lord of the Flies. Get it gone. What? Nope. It wasn't good. I did not enjoy my time. It's about these boys who are stranded on this island, and it's like supposed to be this big critique about what society would be like with no rules and like truly who humans are as like at the core of their characters, like who they are and what that means, and we're doing this through looking at these violent children, and I hated it. Also, like, how can you know what society is going to be like if there's no women? Let's read more books about women, please, or like have them in there at least, and let's not even get. I recognize how not diverse this reading selection is. That's a whole other issue. One that is important, but like I'm not getting into that right now. But hated Lord of the Flies for a very similar reason as A Separate Piece. The next book is All Quiet on the Western Front. I think I'm gonna put that in. I get why I needed to read it. I have close to no memories about what this book is about except for war. I want to say World War II. But I did read it. I know that for certain. I did read this book. I remember carrying it around. I remember having sticky tabs in it. I think I read it senior year of high school. I remember not liking it. I really remember not liking it. I think we had just read another war book. I don't know, I just remember being like, there's too much war. What a weird critique that is, but I understand why I needed to read it, basically. The next one is All the Pretty Horses. Honestly, I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to. I remember really enjoying this book. A trend you will see with all of these is that I don't remember much from them. I remember liking it. It was, about cowboys and someone goes to jail at some point. I think they break out of jail. Do they break out of jail? I don't know. I remember enjoying that, and I'm pretty sure it's a series. This was my AP US history textbook. To be honest, this could also go in I didn't read this, because I don't think I did. I have no memory of ever opening this book. I must have, right? But it's going in here for the Goodreads challenge because there's no reason that this is on Goodreads except for I wanted a boost. You know what? I also probably wanted the page count boost because this was a hefty book, but definitely here for the Goodreads challenge. This is Animal Wise. Okay. This is a book that I read for my animal consciousness class that I took in college, which is as amazing as it sounds. It was a great course. I loved it. But this book is all about how animals think and the consciousness sees and their brain capacities. How did I pass that class? I have no way of explaining this. I really love this. I would read it even if I wasn't forced to. I forced my parents to buy it so they would read it. I don't think they've read it. I would really recommend this as just like if you're interested in animals, and I remember it being fairly easy to read. I don't remember it being super complicated. I think I also read it on audiobook, so I recommend the audiobook then. This is really good. Each chapter is about a different animal. I think like the first one, it's so cool, like they talk about ants and how ants can like communicate with each other. I get so excited about it. It was enjoyable. Also talk about elephants and how they get sad. But I learned a whole bunch from Animal Wise, and I would recommend it if you're interested in that kind of thing. I thought it was really good. Okay, next one I have, I don't even know how to say this. It's by Aristotle. Yeah, I don't think I read this. What also should be on here is Plato's Republic, and Plato's Republic should be right next to this Aristotle book, because I don't remember reading either of them. I had to write. To be fair, I'm pretty sure I only had to read parts of them, but it's just going, and I didn't read this. That's where it belongs. I don't think I did, and read them in college. I think one of them was for an ethics class, and one of them was for a, I don't even know what that class was about. It was like about human nature or something. I don't remember, but they're both going, and I didn't read them. I have no memory of them. Not at all. Next one I have is As You Like It. Am I going to put all the Shakespeares in I'd Read It even if I wasn't forced to? No, not all of them. I see some of them. I'm putting this in I'd Read It even if I wasn't forced to. I have good memories of As You Like It. I think now I'd watch the movie or a play of it, but it was a good time. I read this for a Shakespeare class that I took in college, which there's going to be lots of Shakespeare coming up. Maybe should I just do them all at once? I'm going to do them all at once because I read quite a few Shakespeares during that time. So the next one I read for that class was Hamlet. Going up there and I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to. I enjoyed Hamlet. Okay, here we have some Henrys. I'm putting both of the Henrys. Where's the other one? Oh, Henry V. They're different. I'm putting both of them in. I get why I needed to read it. I don't remember enjoying the Henrys that much. I think they were fine. I'm not mad at them. I definitely read them. So they're not going and I didn't read this. But I don't know if I'd really recommend them. I think you're fine. You don't need to read the Henrys. They're okay. I also read Taming of the Shrew for this. And Taming of the Shrew and Macbeth are going up at the top. Those are my two favorite Shakespeare plays. I really like both of them. Macbeth is probably my top favorite, but Taming of the Shrews, I really enjoy it. And it's kind of problematic, but also you could argue that it's not problematic and that it's actually feminist, which is what I argued in my final paper, which now that I'm thinking back to it, I think I was incorrect, but I got a good grade. I really liked it. I loved both of those tops. They're top favorites. Next is Romeo and Juliet. Also going up there, and I'd read it if I wasn't forced to. I enjoyed it. I read it freshman year of high school. It was fine. I enjoyed it. Why not? And then one more Shakespeare. Am I just a Shakespeare stan? Because it's also going up here, and I'd read it if I wasn't forced to. So this one is A Year in the Life of William Shakespeare. So the whole basis of this Shakespeare course I took was looking at A Year in the Life of Shakespeare. It was $15.99, and it looked at all the books. We read all the plays that were published that year, and we looked at what was happening in England at the time and the history and how what was happening in society then influenced the plays, yada yada. But I really enjoyed this book. I guess I would read it again. I enjoyed it. I have thought about reading it again. I don't know why. I don't need to do that, but next we have Beloved by Toni Morrison. That's also going up into I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to. This book was great. This book was, I read this senior year of high school. I do not think I fully grasped everything that happened in this book. I think a lot of it either went over my head or I wasn't giving it the due diligence, and I definitely this is a book I really, really want to reread. There were some really heavy topics discussed in it, and I just want to, as a more mature person, I want to go back and read it again. But yes, definitely going in, I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to. Next we have Beowulf. I get why I need to read it. Did I read it? I think I read it. I read Beowulf. Yeah, I definitely read Beowulf, but I get why I need to read it. I don't know if I'd read it again. I'm solid with that. Okay, here's just, I did not read Catch-22. Did not read it. I have a very distinct memory of sitting in the back of my parents' car coming back from somewhere, and I was supposed to be reading this book, and I was like, I had it open, and I was like, I gotta read this, and then I just pulled up Spark Notes on my phone. I didn't read it. I couldn't get myself to do it. You know what? This is probably the war book that I was complaining about with All Quiet on the Western Front. I think I should read it again. Like, I want to reread Catch-22. I've heard good things. I think it'd be a good time, but I just frankly did not read it senior year of high school. Can't say much about it. Catcher in the Rye. I liked Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the Rye, I know, is like one that some people really don't like, some people like. I enjoyed it. So I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to. I read that junior year. I think it was fine. We have a Clockwork Orange. Okay. So I read Clockwork Orange for a project with a few other students. So it wasn't mandated to read by the teacher in high school, but like we chose to read it. I think we were doing a project on like dystopians or something like that. I hated this book. This book traumatized me. So I'm putting in Get Out of the curriculum, but it wasn't in the curriculum to begin with. But if it is, get it out. Get it gone. We don't need this. Don't have high schoolers read this. God, this traumatized me. Just so much happens. Oh, no. Did not have a good time. Why did I decide to read this? Another one that I read for this project was The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I'm really going and I didn't read this because I did not. I really don't remember anything about this book, and I truly think it's because I didn't read it. I don't think I read this at all. I remember some weird aliens, but that could have been from the Spark Notes again. So, did not read The Time Machine. So sorry. And then the last one we read for that was Past Watch by Orson Scott Card. I don't know where to put this book because it was definitely the outlier where it wasn't like a classic or anything. Like it wasn't, I don't know why we chose to read this at all. I have no idea. This is about time traveling. And so maybe maybe the project was about time traveling and not dystopians. Don't remember. But this was definitely about time traveling, and I remember it had a lot to do with like Columbus. And I don't remember the take it had on Columbus. So it could have been highly problematic if it was like Columbus was a great guy. We don't like Orson Scott Card. Not a great dude. I don't know, I'll put it in, I guess I get why I needed to read it. Next we have East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Immediately putting in, I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I read this sophomore year of high school. I loved it. I loved it so much. This really started my love of John Steinbeck. I really like him. I'm like slowly reading all of his books. This was great. I loved this book. It follows these two brothers throughout their lives, and it's kind of like a multi-generational story. This was just delightful. This was great. I loved this book. Delightful is not the right word. Not delightful. It was oftentimes pretty upsetting and some sad stuff, but not like in a bad way, in a good way. Loved that. Okay. Next we have Flowers for Algernon. I read this in middle school. I remember it being very upsetting. I remember it being sad. But I get why I needed to read it. Next book is In Cold Blood. I love In Cold Blood. This was the first nonfiction book that I ever read that I was like, oh, so nonfiction can be good. Nonfiction can be enjoyable. So, highly recommend In Cold Blood, especially if you're interested in true crime, because this was like, I've changed the game for true crime. This book feels like it's a fiction book, even though it's nonfiction. Like it reads so easily. Truman Capote, I love him, I love his writing, and this, I love it. I'm gonna reread it because I want to so badly. So good. Definitely in. I would read even if I wasn't forced to. Here we go with the next one of another nonfiction. So this is Into the Wild. I really didn't like this when I read it. Really didn't like it. I remember really critiquing the author's writing. As a probably 16-year-old, I was writing in these journals when I was reading this for class and being like, the author writes, because I remember saying that the author writes like it's an article, but it's not. It's a full novel. He should change his writing. I don't remember. I really didn't like it though. And honestly, I want to read it again. So maybe I need to put it in. I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to. Like this, I think 15-year-old me was incorrect in her strong critique of this book. Alright, next one, Jane Eyre. It's going on the top. I loved it. I love Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is my favorite classic, I think. I need to reread it. but I really loved it when I read it. I think it was freshman year of high school, yeah. Really loved it. Here's a Shakespeare that I forgot. Julius Caesar. I get why I needed to read it. I didn't get much out of Julius Caesar. It was fine. This next book is Mission High. I loved this. I think this book changed my life a little bit. I read this the last year of college, I think, for my minor in education. This is about high school in San Francisco, and it talks a lot about the disparities between what is standardized in school and what the students actually need, and how the teachers combat that and trying to like do the most for their students. Like, even though their standardized tests are really low and hence they don't get that much funding, their students are very well rounded and going to like UC Berkeley and things like that, going to these amazing schools after they graduate. So this book truly, it changed I don't know. I love this. It's spectacular. If you're at all interested in education or the school system or the education system, I recommend reading it. Next book is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I get why I needed to read it. I don't remember much from it, but I get why I needed to read it. Not mad at it like the ones below, but this was fine. Next book is Persepolis. This is a pretty well-known book, even outside of, I read this for my education class. I've heard a lot of booktubers talk about it. I think I really enjoyed reading it. It's a graphic novel. It's 2 parts. I haven't read the second part, but I thought it was really good. So definitely I'd read it even if I wasn't forced to. Next we have Pride and Prejudice. We're putting lots of them up here. Pride and Prejudice, I adored. I thought it was great. Would read again. Don't think I need to talk more about that. Then we have Siddhartha. I get why I need to read it. This was a lot about Buddhism. Don't really know why we read it. Honestly, I think that our teacher just really liked it. Sophomore year of high school. I think he enjoyed this book, so reread it. It was good. This is one that I would read again to see if I can get more out of it. But it's fine. I get why I need to read it. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Yeah, I didn't read this. I don't have much more to say about it. I just didn't read it. Here's another textbook. Making the West. 1 Goodreads points. Canterbury Tales. I understand why I needed to read it, but you know what I didn't understand? I don't understand why I was forced to memorize the beginning of the Canterbury Tales in the original Old English. Is it Old English?
Hi, it's Editing Keely. I just wanted to pop in and say that it's actually Middle English, and for context, Middle English is essentially a different language. You can kind of figure it out, but it's vastly different. So we were up there speaking in another language that none of us knew for some godforsaken reason.
Why did we need to do that? God, I hated that. So throw that out of the curriculum. Throw it right out. Throw it into the trash can. But the tales themselves, if you can read them in modern day English, I understand it. That's fine. I get why I needed to read it. The Giver. I have like a vague memory of reading this in school. I think it was maybe like 7th grade. But I'd read it if I wasn't forced to. I think it was good. The Great Gatsby. Really liked The Great Gatsby. Thought that was a good time. I would read it even if I wasn't forced to, for sure. I think The 2 Lives of Charlemagne. Yeah, I didn't read this at all. This was another one I read for college. No, didn't read it. No idea. Whistling Vivaldi, another education book I read. I get why I needed to read it. There we go. Those are my tier ranking of the books that I read throughout school. Yeah. Let me know if you read any of these books, what you think of them. I feel like it's pretty hard to really enjoy any book you had to read for school. It's not the perfect setup for enjoying books. It's like pretty unbearable. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I will see you next time. Bye!